You can make thousands of dollars in sports betting with this strategy that I'm about to teach you.
So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, I've taught you guys the probabilities on player props and how to find the probabilities for those matchups. Now, a lot of you want to know how to find money lines, how to find over-unders, the probability of those. It's a little bit difficult because you have to factor in all the other variables. Unlike player props, it's only down to just one person. But when it comes to money lines and totals, the teams need to be all together, either gelling or not gelling, depending if you're on over-under or depending on what team you bet on. But there is a way that you can find out exactly, somewhat in a ballpark range of what the probability would be on a game that you're looking at. All right, so what I always suggest is your first step, obviously, you always want to look at line movement. You want to see where the line is moving. All right, to clarify a lot when it comes down to that, when you're looking at an opening line, for example, in baseball, let's say a money line play, if the play opened up at minus 120 and then goes to minus 150, well, that's something you should be looking at. So that's something you should be writing down. Over unders, for example, baseball, total opened up at 8.5 and at 7.5, then you would be looking at the under, all right, when it goes down. Now, once you've did that step, what you want to do is you want to look at head-to-head trends of the teams that are playing. This is important. This could give you somewhat ballpark range of the probability of what the outcome could be in that game. But you have to be careful when you're looking at this stuff, because when you're looking at head-to-head trends, you need to be able to pay attention to recent play between those teams. All right, because there could be little differentials here and there where a team doesn't have this player anymore, or these teams haven't faced off in a couple years or 5 years. So those you can't take into consideration. All right, you have to understand that when it comes down to looking at head-to-head trends, it needs to be recent. It needs to be, the teams basically need to be, around the same of what they are, somewhat similar, and it needs to be within the last couple of years. All right, because obviously when it comes down to years going 10, 20 years, they're not the same teams. So you need to understand that. But when you're looking at head-to-head trends, this could give you a somewhat probability of a money line or total. All right, so for example, let's say the Dodgers are facing the Cardinals. You go and look at head-to-head trends and it says the Dodgers are 7-3 in the last 10 matchups against the Cardinals. If you look at that, now what you would look at is who's at home and who's away. So once you do that, now you could depict what's that record look like. If the Dodgers are playing at home, well, the last 10 times that they played at home against the Cardinals within the last couple years, as long as the team didn't change. Once you look at those stats, then you can narrow it down to a probability number of what could possibly happen in that matchup. Very important, because if you don't factor in this and you're just thinking, oh, well, this team probably is just going to blow out this team and that's it. That's not what it's going to come down to, guys. All right. Even if a money line team is minus 200, minus 250, doesn't mean the probability lines up on their side and that they're going to end up actually winning that game. Other things need to line up, and the head-to-head trends can actually help you predict somewhat that probability of that. But you need to understand, when you're looking at the matchup, you need to take into consideration who's at home, who's away, and the recent matchups for when they're at home and when they're away. Similar to using for totals as well. If you go and look, let's say Dodgers Cardinals again, and it's 6-4 to the over in the last 10 matchups. Well, go and look and see which ones are in the last recent couple years and who's at home and who's away, and depict that. All right. Now you might find in the last 3 years that the over is 5-0, or the over is 4-0, or the over is 3-1, or something like that. All right. When you find those, you can have a better probability and a better idea of exactly what the outcome of that game could be. All right. Because when it comes down to it, this is what sports betting is. Sports betting is trying to get the probability down, because nobody knows if a game's going to win, game's going to lose, game's going to go over, game's going to go under. Nobody actually knows that. All right. We can't predict the future. All we could do is, based off the law of averages and probability, set ourselves up for the best possible side to be able to win that bet. All right, that's what it comes down to being. So when you're going and looking at head-to-head trends and the line movement, you match those up. You can actually take the money lines and the totals and somewhat get a decent probability, ballpark probability on what is going to happen in that game. Make sure when you're looking at head-to-head trends that they are recent, and also make sure you take into account who's away, who's at home. So that way you know exactly how to depict which team that you're looking at and which matchup, because it doesn't really make sense if you look at a head-to-head trend on a team and it was from 5 years ago, and the game that you're looking at, let's say Dodgers are at home, but you're looking at when they were on the road against the Cardinals. That doesn't make any sense. All right, so understand that. Take that into account when you're looking at the head-to-head trends, because it is important to be able to add this step to when you're looking at sports betting and looking into games. All right, if you don't have this step, you are going to be at a massive disadvantage. All right, it's that simple. Just like everybody else out there that just wants to pretty much randomly guess on what they're betting on, and guess what? They all end up losing. These little things right here that I'm teaching you can actually take your sports betting from losing to winning, all right? So hopefully you guys pay attention to the stuff that I teach you and the stuff that I say. As always, guys, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.